Greetings, this is Vane and welcome back to Let's Play Planescape Torment. Okay. See, well, in the last episode, we basically, we learnt to become a mage, which is good. We want to start doing the trash warrants now. But before that, we're going to do a bit of spending. So, what have we got? We've got 14. We want to make sure that we've got a where is it? Yep. I'll make sure we've got charisma 16. And we can do that by going to Fells.
Done.
Look, have we got... Okay.
All right. I'm gone. All right. All right. I'm gone. All right.
Okay.
Done.
Dakon, can you translate for me? Okay. See what tattoos we have available. We've got... What do we want? That's 2 intelligence. Don't need that. What we need is... You. Give me you. Enduring, great enduring. A couple of others there. But we will spend... Because we want... Basically, we want to have... There we go, charisma of 16. Which is what we will need for what's coming up next. Okay. Now you may have noticed we've... Well, let's go to where we're going to go first.
All right.
There's a few other things we want to do before we start doing trash ones.
All right.
Flophouse. Back to the square. I'm going to go back to Mebeth's hut because we can rest there and that will be useful in a minute. Okay, let's take you off and you'll see that will put our statistics back at Wisdom of 15, which is what we're going to need because we are going to talk to Dakon. We've been putting off talking to Dakon.
What is your will?
There are things Dakon turns to you, his eyes like polished coal. His blade mirrors his eyes for a moment as you address him, then he nods. What is your will? There are things that I would know, Dakon. I will hear you. I had some questions about the gifts array. Gifts array language, have we done that? Yep, okay. Never mind, there are things we would know. Ask about travels. Other questions instead, we've done all of those. What we want. Can I talk to you about your teachings? Dakon waits. Can you teach me anything of the art, Dakon? Know that the way of the people is not the same as the art you have come to know. It is not the energy that gives strength. It is knowing the self that gives strength. The teachings of Zerfimon speak of such things. Would you teach me the way of Zerfimon, Dakon? Do you know what you have asked? The texture of Dakon's blade flows until it becomes as stone. To walk the path of Zerfimon, you must know of the people. The knowing of such things by one not of the people is a difficult matter. There are those not of the people who have heard of the way of Zerfimon, but they do not know the way. Dakon, I want to know of the people and know Zerfimon's teachings. I believe there is wisdom to be learned in such things.
Updated my journal.
Know that I have heard your words, and I shall test them. To learn, you must know the people. To know the people, you must know the unbroken circle of Zerfimon. Dakon holds up the stone disc in his position, and his spider-like fingers hook into its side. There is a click, and the plates of the circle slide into a new configuration. He reverses the motion, sealing the stone. Know the first circle of Zerfimon is open to you. Study it, then I will hear your words. Or read the first circle then. In the meantime, I'd have things that I would know. Very well, I will examine it and speak to you again. Okay. So. Let's see. Small round stone is the unbroken circle of Zerfimon. The unbroken circle is a Zerf religious text containing teachings of Zerfimon, the founder of the Giftsarray people. The circle is made up of a series of interlocking circles that fold out from one another, depending on which branch the reader wishes to follow in the path of the teachings. It is said that some Zerfs spend years poring over the combination of the plates, looking for new significance to the teachings. Dakon seems to use the text as a means of focusing his spellcasting abilities, for he pores over the tablet occasionally, memorizing the words. This small round stone is the unbroken circle of Zerfimon. It is made up of a series of interlocking circles that fold out from one another. The complexity of the plates and the intricacy of their links prove that text was constructed by a master artisan. Unlock the first plate as Dakon shows you. You mirror the motions that Dakon made upon the circle, and the plates give way to your touch, the rings sliding into a new configuration. Upon the rings are a series of symbols. The script is like no writing you have ever seen. It is just a series of interlocking geometries with circles predominating. Just looking at it, you know the symbols, and know you can read them. Read the first circle of Zerfimon. Know that we are the first people. Once all was chaos. The first people were drawn from chaos. When the first people came to know themselves, they were chaos no longer and became flesh. With their thoughts and knowing of matter, the people shaped the first world and dwelled there with their knowing to sustain them. Yet the flesh was new to the people, and with it the people came not to know themselves. The flesh gave rise to new thoughts, greeds and hates, pains and joys, jealousies and doubts. All of these fed on each other, and the minds of the people were divided. In their division, the people were punished. The emotions of the flesh were strong. The greed and hates, the pains and joys, the jealousies and doubts, all of these served as a guiding stone to enemies. In becoming flesh, the first people became slave to those who knew flesh only as tools to their will. Know these beasts were the Illithids, aka Mind Flayers. The Illithids were a race that had come to not know themselves. They had learned how to make other races not know themselves. They were the tentacled ones. They lived in flesh and saw flesh as tools to their will. Their blood was as water, and they shaped their minds with their thoughts. When the Illithids came upon the people were a people no more. The people became slaves. The Illithids took the people from the first world and brought them to the false worlds. As the people laboured upon the false worlds, the Illithids taught them the way of the flesh. Through them, the people came to know loss. They came to know suffering. They came to know death, both of the body and mind. They came to know what it is to be the herd of another and have their flesh consumed. They came to know the horror of being made to feel joy in such things. The unbroken circle is the knowing of how the people lost themselves and how they came to know themselves again. Slide the plates closed and seal the circle.
What is your will?
There are things that I would know, Dakon. Talk to you about teachings. I have read the Unbroken Circle of Zerfimon. I want to speak to you about the way of Zerfimon. What did you come to know? Strength lies in knowing oneself. I learned that once someone does not know themselves, they are lost. They become tools for others.
Updated my journal.
You have come to know the first circle of Zerfimon. You not only see the words of Zerfimon, you have come to know them. Dakon holds up the circle and hooks his fingers around the edges. There is a click and the plates of the circle slide into a new configuration. He reverses the motion, sealing the stone. Know the second circle of Zerfimon is open to you. Study it, and I will hear your words. Okay.
I cannot part with that.
Okay, unlock the second circle of Zerfimon. Read the second circle of Zerfimon. Know that flesh cannot mark still. Know that still may mark flesh. In knowing this, Zerfimon became free. Know that the tentacle ones were of flesh. They relied on the flesh and used it as tools for their will. One of the places where flesh served their will was on the field of husks, on the false worlds of the Illithids. Their fields were where the bodies of the people were cast after the Illithids had consumed their brains. When the brain had been devoured, the husks came to be fertilizer to grow the poison-stemmed grasses of the Illithids. Zerfimon worked the fields with no knowing of himself or what he had become. He was a tool of flesh, and the flesh was content. It was upon these fields that Zerfimon came to know the Scripture of Steel. During one of the turnings, as Zerfimon tilled the fields with his hands, he came across a husk whose brain remained with it. It had not been used for food, yet it was dead. The thought that one of the husks died a death without serving as food for the Illithids was a thought that Zerfimon had difficulty understanding. From that thought came a desire to know what had happened to the husk. Embedded in the skull of the husk was a steel blade. It had pierced the bone. Zerfimon realized that was what had killed the husk. The steel had masked the flesh, but the flesh had not marked the steel. Zerfimon took the blade and studied its surface. In it he saw his reflection. It was in the reflection of the steel that Zerfimon first knew himself. Its edge was sharp, its will the wearer's. It was the blade that would come to be raised against gift when Zerfimon made the pronouncement of two skies. Zerfimon kept the blade for many turnings, and many were the thoughts he had about it. He used it in the fields to aid his work. In using it he thought about how it was not used. The Illithids were powerful. Zerfimon had believed that there was nothing they did not know. Yet the Illithids never carried tools of steel. They only used flesh as tools. Everything was done through flesh, for the tentacle ones were made of flesh and they knew flesh. Yet steel was superior to flesh. When the blade had killed the husk, it was the flesh that had been weaker than the steel. It was then that Zerfimon came to know that the flesh yielded to steel, and knowing that he came to know that steel was stronger than the Illithids. Steel became the scripture of the people. Know that steel is the scripture by which the people came to know freedom. Okay, side the plate's closed.
What is your will?
There are things that I would know. Curriculum and teachings. Read the Unbroken Circle of Zerfimon. What have you come to know? I learned that not knowing something can be a tool, just like flesh and steel, if upon encounter it you attempt to know its nature and how it came to be. You have seen the words and you have seen beyond them. You have come to know the second circle of Zerfimon. He takes the circle with death motion and he twists one of the links so the plate slides forward, but strangely enough, the stone still appears intact. He hands the plate to you. Meditate upon this teaching, and the knowing of it shall give you strength. When you have absorbed it, you shall know more. Very well, I will study the circle. Yet I would still know more of Zerfimon's teachings. Okay. Very well, I will read it. So what have we got? Well, we have the second circle of Zerfimon, which is allows us to. It's a spell that allows us. Basically, it's an improved bless spell. Allows us the Scripture of Steel. So yeah, Scripture of Steel. Okay.
I cannot part with that.
Unlock the third circle of Zerfimon. Slide the plates in the configuration Zakron Soju. Read the third circle of Zerfimon. Zerfimon laboured many turnings for the Illithid, Arlafi twice deceased, and his partnership in the cavernous heavens, the Force Worlds. His duties would have broken the backs of many others, but Zerfimon laboured on, suffering torment and exhaustion. It came to pass that the illithid Alafi, twice deceased, ordered Zerfimon before him in his many-vaned Galleria. He claimed that Zerfimon had committed slights of obstinance and cowardice against his partnership. The claim had no weight of truth, for Alafi only wished to know if flames raged within Zerfimon's heart. It wanted to know if Zerfimon's heart was one of a slave or of a rebel. Zerfimon surrendered to the illithid punishment rather than reveal his newfound strength. He knew that were he to show the hatred in his heart, it would serve nothing and would harm others that felt as he. He chose to endure the punishment and was placed within the pillars of silence that may suffer for eternity. Lashed upon the pillars, Zerfimon moved his mind to a place where pain could not reach, leaving his body behind. He lasted a turning, and when he was brought before Alafi, twice deceased, he gave gratitude for his punishment to the illithid, as was custom. In doing so, he proved himself a slave in the illithid eyes, while his heart remained free. By enduring and quenching the fires of his hatred, he allowed Alafi, twice deceased, to think him weak. When the time of the rising came, Alafi was the first of the illithid to know death by Zerfimon's hand and die a third death.
What is your will?
The things that I would know, Dakon. Talked about teachings. Endure. In enduring, grow strong. These words seem to strike Dakon strangely. As you speak them, his forehead creases and then resettles into its normal passive expression. Your will has brought you the knowing of the third circle of Zerfimon. With this knowing, I impart this to you. He takes a circle, and with a deft motion he twists one of the links, so one of the plates slides forth. He hands the plate to you. Meditate upon its teachings, and the knowing of it shall give you strength. Very well, I will study this circle. Is there more than you can teach me? As you ask the words, you suddenly notice that Dakon isn't looking at you. He's holding the unbroken circle in his hand, studying it. His blade has taken on the same texture as the unbroken circle, and Dakon suddenly seems older somehow. Dakon? Dakon's black eyes give rise to the circle and look at you. Know that I did not believe that you would come to know the teachings of the circle. It is a difficult path you will walk in learning the way of Zerfimon. Is your mind focused on this matter? Yes, I wish to learn more. Dakon's fingers feel around the edge of the stone circle and he twists it clockwise. The links click in until they have resettled into a new configuration. He then reverses the motion, resetting the stone. The next circle of Zerfimon is open to you. To study it and I will hear your words. Very well, I'll read it and speak to you again. So we have, what have we got this time? Submerge the will. Okay, yeah, submerge the will. Armor class 2. Okay. Unlock the fourth circle. Read the fourth circle. Know that the rising of the people against the illithid was a thing built upon many 10 turnings of labour. Many of the people were gathered and taught in secret the ways of defeating their illithid masters. They were taught to shield their minds, to use them as weapons. They were taught the scripture of steel, and most importantly, they were given the knowing of freedom. Some of the people learned the nature of freedom and took it into their hearts. The knowing gave them strength. Others feared freedom and kept silent. But there were those that knew freedom and knew slavery, and it was their choice that the people remained chained. One of these was Vilquar. Vilquar saw no freedom in the rising, but opportunity. He saw that the illithid had spawned across many of the false worlds. Their worlds numbered so many that their vision was turned only outwards, to all they did not already touch. Vilquar's eye saw that much took place that the illithid did not see. To the rising, the illithid were blinded. Vilquar came before his master, the illithid Zigitaris, with the knowing of the rising. Vilquar added to his chains and offered to be their eyes against the rising. In exchange, Vilquar asked that he be rewarded for his service. The illithid agreed to his contract. At the bonding of the contract, a dark time occurred. Many were the betrayals Vilquar committed, and many were the people that the illithids fed upon to stem the rising. It seemed that the rising would die before it could occur, and the illithid were pleased with Vilquar's eye. It was near the end of this dark time when Zerfimon came to know Vilquar's treacheries. In knowing Vilquar's eye, Zerfimon forced the rising to silence itself, so that Vilquar might think at last his treacheries had succeeded, and the rising had fallen. He knew that Vilquar's eye was filled only with the reward he had been promised. He would see what he wished to see. With greed beating in his heart, Vilquar came upon the illithid Zigitaris and spoke to his master of his success. He said that the rising had fallen and that the illithids were safe to turn their eyes outward once more. He praised their wisdom in using Vilquar's eye, and he asked them for his reward. In his green blindness, Vilquar had forgotten the knowing of why the people had sought freedom. He had lost the knowing of what slavery meant. He had forgotten that his illithid masters saw when they looked upon him. And so Vilquar's betrayal to the people was ended with another betrayal. Vilquar came to know that when Vilquar's eye has nothing left to see, Vilquar's eye was useless. The illithid gave to Vilquar his reward, opening the cavity of his skull and devouring his brain. Vilquar's corpse was cast upon the fields of husks, so its blood might water the poison-stem grasses. So, basically Vilquar betrayed and then was betrayed himself.
What is your will?
Things that I would know, to respect teachings. Okay. When one chooses to see only what is before them, they see only a part of a whole. They are blind, and just as Vilquar was blinded by his promised reward, so were the illithids blinded to the true rising. For when they heard Vilquar's words, they turned their sight outwards again, didn't they? And the rising was free to strike. Know that you speak truly. Vilquar's eye blinded both Vilquar and the illithids. The tentacle ones thought the rising to be no more. When the rising occurred, the ground drank deep of illithid blood. It was victory born from treachery. It is a curious lesson. Why would he be part of the teachings of Zerfimon? Dakon's blade bleeds into a dead black night, and his voice deepens. For a moment you think he's angry, but you're not so sure. There is much about the way of Zerfimon and his past that is difficult to know. Do you know why Vilquar's eye is part of the way of Zerfimon? It is part of the telling of how our people came to know freedom. It lets us know that there are those, even among the people, who are not of the people, and that even the greatest treachery, a greater knowing may be achieved. Very well. You have come to know the fourth circle of Zerfimon. He takes a circle with a deft motion, twists one of the links so the plate slides forth. He hands the plate to you. Meditate upon its teachings, and the knowing of it shall give you strength. I would know more of the way of Zerfimon. Thank you. So, and we got another circle.
I feel stronger.
Feel stronger. Okay. So, going to level up. See. But we... Okay. No additional ability points because we were already level 4 in fighter and thief by the time we got there. Okay, what we got? Copy spell, Vilk Quasar. Okay, blindness, but with okay.
I cannot part with that.
Let's read the 5th circle. I don't know if we can do the 5th circle, but you slide the plates into the configuration Dakon showed you and a new ring is revealed. The ring carries the same scriptures before and you know you can read them, etc, etc. Zerfimond was the first to know the way of freedom, yet it was not he that first came to know the way of rebellion. The knowing of rebellion came to the warrior queen Gith, one of the people. She had served the Lithids upon many of the Force worlds as a soldier, and she had come to know war and carry it in her heart. She had come to know that others might be organised to subjugate others. She knew the paths of power, and she knew the art of taking from the conquerors the weapons by which they could be defeated. Her mind was focused, and both her will and her blade were as one. The turning in which Zerfimond came to know Gith, Zerfimond ceased to know himself. Her words were as fires lit in the heart of all who heard her. In hearing her words, he wished to know war. He knew not what afflicted him, but he knew he wished to join his blade to Gith. He wished to give his hate expression and share his pain with the Illithid. Gith was one of the people, but her knowing of herself was greater than any Zerfimond had ever encountered. She knew the ways of flesh. She knew the Illithids, and in knowing herself, she was to know how to defeat them in battle. The strength of her knowing was so great that all those that walked her path came to know themselves. Gith was but one. Her strength was such that it caused others to know their strength, and Zerfimond laid his still at her feet. Okay.
What is your will?
Things that I would know. Teachings I've read. Zerfimond learned to join with an even more powerful figure, Gith. Together, the people grew stronger.
Updated my journal.
Dakon's forehead creases into a frown. Then you have come to know nothing. You are one who hears the words and does not know them. Okay, never mind, Dakon. So we've done... Yeah, we're stuck on the Sith. We need more wisdom. So we've got to add that to our thingy. So we need a greater wisdom before we can do the next bit. So we're going to basically try and, as we level up, split our points between wisdom and charisma. That is the plan, anyway. Let's pop you on. Yeah, wisdom and charisma. Because charisma opens more dialogue, but so does wisdom. We've got our intelligence, so that's pretty good for a while. So... I mean, what we will probably do is we'll pick up the tattoo of the soul as well when we get to it. But first off, we need to start getting points in charisma. Okay, so let's have a look. What have we got? Yeah, okay. First off, before we go, we're going to rest here. Guess I'm in need of some healing. Hexmabeth, I had some more questions for you. Okay. Can I buy some cures from you? Actually, we're not going to. What we're going to do is we're going to do some shopping. We'll go and sell bits we need. Get this done out of the way because our next step is to do the trash bottles. Reminds me, how are we doing with our journal? Yeah.
Done.
Chief. Just look natural. Casual.
Endure, your path is mine.
we doing? I think we're all done. We're going to head back to Mebeth's hut. We're going to rest down. Okay, so we're going to rest in here. Could I rest here? That would be fine, thank you. Just check we've got our book. Got our spells, yep. So, this has been Vane doing Let's Play Planescape Torment. If you like what you're seeing here, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. Please consider sponsoring me on Patreon, and until next time, goodbye.